Welcome to the UU Church of Lancaster. My name is Elizabeth Haralam-Shuba. My pronouns are she, her, and you may call me Reverend Shuba. I'm a UU community minister affiliated with this congregation, and that means I lead worship from time to time, and my ministerial context is on the other side of these walls. Unitarian Universalism is a tradition that seeks truth in love. We do not have to reach the same conclusion about what we believe, but we covenant or promise to walk a path of spiritual discovery together. We don't always get it right, but nonetheless aspire to be radically welcoming. So if this is your first time or you've been coming for ages, welcome. No matter who you love, how you live in your body, or what you have experienced because of society's response to those things, we hope you will find safe haven here. Please rise and join me in singing, as you are able, hymn number 30 in the gray hymnal.
Over my head, I hear music in the air. Over my head, I hear music in the air. Over my head, I hear music in the air. There must be a God somewhere. Over my head, I hear singing in the air. Over my head, I hear singing in the air. Over my head, I hear singing in the air. There must be a God somewhere. Over my head, trouble in the air. Over my head, I see trouble in the air. Over my head, I see trouble in the air. There must be a God somewhere. I feel gladness over my head. I feel gladness in the air over my head. I feel gladness in the air over my head. I feel gladness in the air. There must be a God some. I see angels over my head. I see angels in the air over my head. I see angels in the air over my head. I see angels in the air. There must be a God somewhere.
A little homage to the history of our tradition. Please be seated. Yeah, she's getting it. Oh, we stand till the chalice is lit? Wow, that's new to me. Well, I already told you to sit. But I'll offer these words as Lillian lights the chalice, and then I'll do it right next time. Thank you, Susan. The flaming chalice is a symbol of our tradition. We light it to ritualize and remind us that when we gather here in the sanctuary, this becomes a sacred space. May this flame both warm our hearts so that we can set down what no longer serves us, and may it light the way to reveal the possibility of our future, of what our shared values can bring to the world. May our flame call us to the higher parts of ourself at every turn. May it recall us to the power of pause, so that we may choose love and not reaction, trusting intentions and commitment of us all, a community who is not defined by the few, but by the whole. Blessed be. Bless you. Yep.
Hi, my name is Lillian. And I prepared something somewhere. Well, anyway, welcome this morning. We're glad that everyone is here. We might get rain, we might not, but ice and snow, bless the Lord. Welcome to those that are coming maybe for the first time, like I did 18 years ago. Welcome to those who come Sunday after Sunday. Welcome to those who are seeking, who have inquiring minds. May we worship together in peace.
There were some questions this morning about if I was going to speak on some of the political news last night. And I said the title of my sermon is Letting Go. So perhaps for this Sunday, we'll just let that go. Good morning, beloveds. We gather this morning to contemplate possibility. We do this because it's a big year in our history as it marks the 200th anniversary of the American Unitarian Society. Of particular note here, as UUCL originated as a Unitarian congregation before we bonded with the Universalist Church of America in 1961 to become the Unitarian Universalist Association. Our ancestors were so courageous to envision the possibility of a tradition whose focus pivoted away from the salvation of our souls in favor of preservation of inherent worthiness of all. They let go of doctrine to make way for spiritual wayfaring, the emphasis being on shared because we cannot practice religion outside of community. The origin of that word is French, from the French word relier, which translates to assemble or fasten to. That we continue to exist, to assemble as we do, is a tribute to our tenacity. It's not easy being a part of a community who have chosen to meet each other in love, even if we don't agree. One who is in covenant because of our shared values, not because of our shared beliefs. We know this because we've experienced friction and fracture in our congregations, and sometimes no amount of tenacity can heal two sides of a whole who no longer choose each other. And those fractures have happened in our history here as well. However, if we don't engage in difficulty with each other at all, we don't grow. If we choose a calm relationship over deep exchange, we aren't in shared spiritual meaning making. And if our spiritual journeying isn't at the center, are we a faith community or a social club? I'm not the first to have wondered this question aloud. At ministry days and organizing before GA, that's our General Assembly with the Unitarian Universalist Association, several years ago, keynote speaker, humanist, and author of The End of God Talk, Anthony Pinn, asked the same question. This was during COVID, so it was in a Zoom full of clergy, myself included. And when I think about the future of Unitarian Universalism and all of its possibilities, especially in the moment we're living in, a time where folks are hungering for a place of belonging, a place of love and hope, I find myself wondering, what are we willing to let go of to welcome them in? What do we need to change to realize our potential as a vibrant home for progressive thought and faith lived in action? As we look ahead, we need to be willing to take stock of who we've been. A community who cannot look at itself with a critical eye, who isn't set on improvement, risks being left behind. We have a responsibility to our ancestors to ensure a progressive presence in our communities for another 200 years at least. Not only are we closing the 200th year, we're also a breath away from the end of our church year, one that is seeing transition in leadership, which brings much possibility as well. We have a number of board members rotating off the Board of Treasurers, including the president, as they conclude their second and final year of their term. UU's laud the democratic process, and so maybe you're interested in stepping into a leadership role here at UUCL. Also, Reverend Howard has agreed to renew his contract for another year. Woohoo! But his is not a settled ministry, which means we don't know the future of professional ministry here at UUCL. Speaking of which, do you understand the organization of leadership here? It's not that different from religious communities across other traditions. And I love a good org chart, so bear with me. They're the Board of Treasurers who are elected to serve the interests of the congregation and maintain connection with the external community. And we do this by serving and funding like-minded efforts while providing education as to who we are. And then there's the congregational minister who is contracted to the board, that's Reverend Howard. They are his boss. Reverend Howard sort of sits between the board and the congregation. And then there's me. As a community minister, I sit in a unique position. I'm sort of lateral to Reverend Howard, and I have an affiliation agreement with the board, but I'm also a member here at UUCL. Affiliated community ministers are required to be a member in good standing with the churches that they affiliate with, the congregations they're affiliated with. I actually don't remember a time where I wasn't a UU. I don't remember a time before Unitarian Universalism. My mother, who's sitting there in the second row, brought my brother and myself here in maybe 1981, 82. She was looking for a faith community which aligned with her progressive values and supported her in her spiritual seeking. She was a longtime member of the choir in the days before Ann was Reverend Ann Mason, but our music director. And Mom served on the search committee for Reverend Kit Howard and maybe others. I was married here in 1997 to the same fellow who's sitting in the memorial, back in the women's memorial room. And I was married by interim minister Reverend Paul LaRue. My children were dedicated here by Reverend Susan Milner. Sydney in probably 90 and Sam probably in 2001. Sydney here and Sam over in the chapel at the Lancaster Theological Seminary, because we were having construction of the second part of this building during that time, and that's where we would meet for worship. I signed the book for the first time in about 2001. I was the co-op president while my kids attended, and I left for a decade because there was a schism here, and it didn't feel so welcoming anymore. You know, sometimes when you're with both within and without, you know, do they say how the sausage is made? That's probably not appropriate here, but as an empath, the tension was palpable, and as a leader in the co-op, I could not be blissfully ignorant. And then, as happens in Unitarian Universalism, we leave and we come back because we find we probably don't really fit anywhere else. But my call back was in part of my spiritual wayfaring that led me to the path of ministry, and that was in 2016. My ministerial formation brought me back to this beloved community. And Reverend Barbie Kuhlman, who was the development minister at the time, was my supervisor for the internship that I did here. I signed the book again in 2019 and became the affiliated community minister here in 2021. And in 2023, you ordained me. It's a story I've told before, but it's a story that I share because I think it gives me a unique perspective of us. I am both congregant and professional leader in or of this community and our community at large. I'm a representation of you all, of us all in the world. I'm a trained observer of behaviors and patterns. I'm board certified in truth-telling. And because I'm not tied to the organization structurally, in the same way as the congregational minister is, I feel I can speak the truth from love while standing in the pulpit. Not that Reverend Howard can't, but I feel like I have a bit of more freedom because I am of you, I am with you, I walk with you. And I can do that from up here in the pulpit because our history has deemed that it can be served by clergy ordained with the authority to represent the official teachings of our church. It's a responsibility I take quite seriously. And I was thinking about its complexity. My position as affiliated community minister reminds me very much as my role in my family of origin. I'm the oldest of 4 kids, and I was given a lot of responsibility in the caring of my younger siblings, but I wasn't their parent. I was a leader of the family, but I was also one of the kids. I can see things about the systems I'm a part of and maybe others can't view when they have both feet in one place. Come to think of it, it's the same position I shared in as the soul oncology chaplain. I'm a leader in my ambulatory hospital setting, but I don't manage folks. I don't do evaluations, and thank goodness I don't herd cats. Also, I love cats. But I digress. As we look to our future as a congregation and our myriad responsibilities, I share these observations of us. The unknowns are scary. The world has become an ever more frightening and unpredictable place. Those are the things we can't control. However, as we prepare for our future, What we do have is agency in our own healing to make ourselves our most healthy. Emotionally healthy people are nimble, able to be reflective without being defensive, and every space entered is one of abundance instead of scarcity. The thing about UUs is we live in our heads. We approach our spirituality from a place of reason because of this, and we have lost the connection to our feelings. Author and psychiatrist Dr. Alice Miller, let's do that again. Dr. Alice Miller, who wrote Drama of the Gifted Child in 1979, among many other books, came to the conclusion, after 30 years of study, that our trauma isn't the most influential impact to our well-being. In her 3 decades of providing psychotherapy to adults, a common theme was revealed. For those who continue to suffer internally despite having a life that seems enviable, despite being well-loved, successful, and respected, the commonality was that as children, we were not allowed to feel what we were feeling. Not in a big, loud way, but in a hushed and steady manner, which disconnected our thoughts from our feelings. We heard things like, boys don't cry, you have nothing to be sad about, stop being so sensitive. Maybe we were shamed by being laughed at for our big feelings. The thing is, we don't stop feeling. We just learn not to express our feelings. We sever our thoughts from our feelings. We become people who find it easier to identify what others need than what we feel or how we feel about that. The impact of a culture that asks us to sit on our hands instead of using them to articulate, or has led us to believe that magic doesn't exist, that whimsy is for the unintelligent, or that one can't be both playful and professional. For those folks, you may already know that the body keeps the score. Those feelings unattached to language seep into our physical body. They attach to our nervous system, causing anxiety and depression. Divorced from their story. Feelings without voice make us sick. Bessel van der Kolk, who wrote the book of the same name, The Body Keeps the Score, had a whole theory on it. It's kind of academic. I think I've mentioned it up here before. So if you don't want to read the book, at least pay attention to your body. When you feel something, but you don't have a word for it, how can we connect the feelings in our body that are divorced from the language to express them? Miller's book, The Gifted Child, explores the ways in which omission of feelings forms who we are and how we interpret the world. The separation is a barrier to fully experiencing life. Maybe it even becomes an obstacle to our most sacred goal of connection with self, the natural world, and others. What's most interesting is that Miller found the fix is profoundly simple. Permission. All we need to do is give ourselves permission to feel our feelings. Permission to have feelings we actually feel, not ones we think we should have, not ones that feel proportionate, not what makes us look reasonable. Miller asks us to give ourselves permission to meet ourselves in the moment we are having, so that we can come to believe that joy isn't childish, that our grief will always be a part of us, and that it has no expiration date, that grief is, in fact, a representation of our capacity to love, that we should not hide from our emotional selves, that it's okay to feel need. It's more than okay. It's what makes us human. What does Miller's work and The Gifted Child have to do with letting go in order to embrace possibility? Well, that's another easy one. If we don't give ourselves permission to feel about who we have been, how can we possibly, collectively, envision a future? Or at least envision something built on honesty? Acknowledging the complexity of our history allows us to make peace with the complex truths of that history so that shame doesn't seep into our DNA, the DNA of our future selves. Shame is it's so paralyzing, it stunts us. When we fear repeating past difficulties and respond to that fear by hunkering down, over time, we forget. We forget what we're hiding from. We forget who we are. When we forget who we are, how can we possibly teach those new to our communities about where we're going? One of the things I've seen time and time again in my work as a chaplain is that the very things that folks want to avoid acknowledging becomes the silent thread that is woven through it all. While people are not defined by their worst moments, the jagged pills of our history, if we don't give ourselves permission to feel our feelings about those moments, the jagged pills remain stuck in our throat. We become so used to their presence but we don't do anything to send that jagged pill on its way. Our persistent throat clearing becomes a tic. We clear our throats, but we forget why. Because we don't understand our feelings, we have lost our connection to what drives our decision-making, so that every major decision we make as an adult is unconscious as opposed to being discerned. Because we have not allowed space for our own feelings, we judge those who do. We call them overreactive or crybabies. My dear ones, I have an ask. Something I truly believe that if we can agree to do for ourselves as individuals, will help us to become more grounded and less reactive in our relationships here at UUCL and wherever else we show up. I'm asking this now, today, because we're living in a time of rawness, a time where it feels like a Herculean effort to remain grounded. It hurts to be aware of the world around us, which is why I was asking us to let the news go just for this hour. I make an ask now because while we can't choose the world we live in, we can choose how we respond to it. I ask now because we are already living with discomfort, so we may as well seek out the opportunity. Where lies the possibility of a better future? What do we need to let go of so that we can grow as individuals and a community of shared meaning-making? If the denial of permission to experience our feelings is refuted in us, understanding them, then let's do what UUs love to do, and let's let our intellect build connection between our thoughts, behavior, and feeling. Dr. Miller's prescription for the gifted child is writing. It's kind of like, I don't know if any of you felt like you could be a little bit more vulnerable in the car when you weren't staring at the person you were talking to. I know if I ever wanted to dig deep into the lives of my children, I would ask passive-seeming questions while they were in the back seat. I think writing is similar to that when we're not staring. Like in a Zoom, I don't know if you're the kind that stares at your own face or somebody else's, but it somehow hinders that free flow, that free association. I'm asking you to take 5 minutes out of your day and ask yourself, what am I actually feeling today that I've not let myself feel? Make this a daily gift to yourself. Write the answer to the question, knowing no one will ever read it. Doing so without minimizing, justifying, or analyzing. Give yourself permission to feel all of the biggest feelings you have. They may scare you at first. And that's okay, because fear is a good one to acknowledge. It's the gatekeeper of the more tender ones. Our unhealed history sends fear, so the gifted child will continue to maintain the status quo. We may be suffering, but fear says, well, it's the suffering we know. Making peace with our sadness and our anger is work. But beloveds, I promise you it is work worth doing. Fear teaches us to hold fast, to tighten our grip. When we have peace, when we are reconciled with our past, we can live with open hands and a welcoming heart. It makes us congregations, it makes us courageous as our ancestors were when they dared to leave Christianity as they knew it. I offer these observations as a pathway to healing out of love for us all, in hope for our future in a world that can be more soft and joyful. May it be so. Going to be joined in at the end, but enjoy.
Yeah, for folks, if you want to follow along, it's 10:54 in your hymnal, and it's a little tricky. So I'm just going to sing it with you today with Alan, and then the little refrain at the end is, "Let there be a house of peace," right? It's very simple. So when we get to that part, feel free to sing it with me. Just the intro. Let this be a house of peace, of nature and humanity, of sorrow and elation. Let this be our house, a haven for the healing, an open room for question and our inspiration. This is it. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of peace. Great job. Let this be a house of freedom, guardian of dignity and worth held deep inside us. Let this be our house, a platform for the free voice, where all our sacred differences here shall not divide us. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of peace. Let all in this house seek truth, where scientists and mystics abide in reverence here. Let this be our house, a house of our creation, where works of art and melodies consecrate the atmosphere. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of prophecy. May vision for our children be our common theme. Let this be our house of myth and lore and legend, our trove of ancient story and cradle of our tender dreams. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of peace. One more. Let this be a house of peace.
Thank you, Eli. That was a special treat. Well, I knew the topic of today's sermon was letting go because it was in the order of service. And when I first read it, my first thought was, it was the song on Frozen, Let It Go. And then I thought, no, that's not quite it. But after I finished listening to her, it is it, because she had a secret that she froze things. And she hid her true feelings from everybody and hid for years. And when she finally let it out, she made this huge empire and saved her sister. But as I read further, I saw some pivotal points of today's sermon. It's an area I worked in most of my life as a mental health therapist. We need permission to have the feelings we are actually feeling. I saw so many people for so many years weren't aware of their feelings, had been hiding them, repressing them for so long, they had no idea what they felt anymore. And I've done it myself. But how different our lives would be if we were allowed our feelings. When I was little, I was the youngest, and I would easily cry. Things seemed to affect me more than other people. And I remember being called a crybaby. I couldn't understand what was so wrong to express dismay or sadness. They usually would tell me, "You have no reason to cry. Put a smile on your face." And so I did, and thus my beautiful smile. But if only I had been allowed to have those feelings, perhaps I wouldn't have spent so many years. Where is it? Repressing them. Because they were deep inside of me. It has taken me much hard work and many, many years of therapy to reach where I am now. At age 70, I can embrace all my feelings and emotions. All deserve to be heard, examined, accepted, and celebrated. I invite you to do the same. Reverend Shuba inspired me to add something. She said she has a dual position as minister and congregant. And I worked as a mental health therapist 43 years. I was a provider and a patient. Not delving into a whole bunch of it, I do have severe depression, and I would have episodes that required hospitalization. And in the beginning, I would say, I have to go to Phil Haven in Mount Gretna. I don't want to meet any patient in the hospital that I'm working with. And then as time went by, I said, does it matter really? If they see me, then I'll just be more real to them. And so sometimes it's the things you're trying to hide that at the end are going to give you more benefit. Just think about it.
Yeah.
And now the offertory. This month's beneficiary is Right Face, a nonprofit organization based in Lancaster County that provides guided creative writing, songwriting, and art workshops for veterans and family members. Open your hearts and pockets. The collection will now be gratefully accepted.
Thank you, Alan, for always bringing pleasure to my ears. It's one of my favorite parts of the service is the ways in which I can be a consumer as opposed to a purveyor. So thank you.
I'm just going to say that song's called Opening of the Heart.
Opening of the Heart. Is it original? Beautiful. We are so lucky to have you. And thank you also, Eli, for singing. Yes, yes, yes. Please, please. I am usually the idea guy when it comes to music, so I pick the things, but then everybody else has to make the magic happen. But that was all you. Thank you. Now's the part in our service where we ritualize the things that we're holding. So it's the moment of joys and sorrows. If this is your first time, or all of you, I invite you when you're able to come through the center aisle and choose a stone from where Lillian is standing and place it in the sand so that we may hold your joys, your sorrows, and your complex feelings as a beloved community. Please come forward. I offer these words by poet Nikita Gill called Hymn for the Future. May you always know pain as temporary and laughter better. May the universe bless you with the perseverance to try harder. May you build a kinder history than the ruins you were given. May the greatest gift you receive be more than just a life, but a life where the world is safer, a life so full of love and joy that it's worth living. Am I going to lead us in our, why don't you lead us in our, you got it? Oh, you're going to drink my water, I forgot that.
Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its gift. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. El amor es el espíritu de esta iglesia, y el servicio es su ofrenda. Este es nuestro gran pacto, el convivir unidos en paz, el buscar la verdad en amor y ayudarnos unos a los otros.
Colors this evening than coloring in the lines this morning. It's already night, apparently. Whenever you're ready, my love.
The only announcement in my brain, unless somebody has something else, we have a beautiful potluck. Instead of going home, go downstairs to the potluck for fellowship and community. If you didn't bring anything, I didn't either, and I'm still going down. Is there anything else?
That's it, unless someone wants to stand and offer an announcement from the congregation, please. Here, I'll come closer to you.
Thank you. Okay, so in case you did not get a chance to sign your postcards to send to our representatives, anti-fascist postcards, they're very catchy, eye-catchy, and they're very meaningful. There will be postcards downstairs. All you need to do is sign them. We will stamp and mail them for you unless you choose to make the stamps a donation. That's up to you. Please sign them. It's very important. Thank you.
Thank you. So sign and donate and stamps. Those were the big parts. Go down, eat, and sign cards. Right? Good. Now, rise as you are able, and join me in singing hymn 1057. Go lift it up in the teal hymnal.
Times through, 2 times. Go lift it up, love bless your way. Moonlight, starlight, guide your journey into peace and the brightness of day. Go lift it up.
please remain standing and join hands if you're comfortable doing so as I offer these words of benediction. Rumi says, "Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come." Dritsila is a woman's hereditary storytelling, a living tradition within the Jewish tradition, which was nearly wiped out during the Holocaust of World War II. I offer these words of storyteller Shonali Cumbers. I am angry, but I will not hate. I am in despair, but I will not give up hope. I want to scream at the universe, but I will not stop listening to the world. I am in pain, but I know I will heal. I am furious with outrage, but I will not abandon mercy. I am afraid, but I am fearless, for I am here and I am whole. I am. Beloveds, it is essential that we heal ourselves so that we can be as vital in our interconnectedness as the universe needs us to be to stand against hate. Our future will bear the fruit of this healing. Let us mend the path between our thoughts and our feelings. Please go in peace, planting seeds of love. Ashe, Shalom, Amen, and blessed be.